Hello, welcome back to Shock's Talks. I'm Shakti, and today I want to do a quick episode on how to study anomalous phenomena. So I've been studying the UAP UFO phenomena for some years now, and I've been studying consciousness and other anomalous things for most of my life. It started at an early age because I was raised in a yogic community, and so I always had an interest in the esoteric and the unknown. And what I've learned along the way is that it takes a very grounded person to be able to navigate this type of material. There's a lot that gets stirred up for us humans emotionally as we begin to recontextualize ourselves in this greater reality. And fear can come up and anxiety can come up. You can have a hard time sleeping. Your mind can lock on to different pathways of information that can really spin you out and unground you. So I just want to share a couple of things that have worked for me for what it's worth. And I'm open to whatever tips and tricks you have too, if you're willing to leave it in the comments. As always, please like, share, and subscribe. I'm trying to grow my channel and I really appreciate all the support. Thanks to everyone who's been here since the beginning. So let's get into it. Basically, this came up for me because I watched a really interesting Richard Dolan interview on the podcast Third Eye Drops. And what the host said to Richard is that you really stand out to me because you are someone who's been in this for years and you haven't lost your marbles, basically. You've been able to remain very grounded, open-minded, and skeptical, and you have this ability to navigate this anomalous material without basically losing your mind. Now, this kind of reminds me of what a lot of people talk about when it comes to the Kundalini awakening, and we're going to dig more into this as we go on, deeper into this topic, but I've touched on it in a couple previous episodes, and I'm not claiming to be an expert when it comes to Kundalini, but I have enough knowledge of it to know that this kind of energetic awakening that can happen in any human at a certain moment in their life, usually I would say when they are in their early adulthood, seems to be typical in terms of the people that I know. But what happens is this energetic awakening. It's this concept of energy moving from the base of the spine up through the crown chakra, and it can cause surges of energy and surges of new perceptions that can be very ungrounding to some people and can destabilize some people so much that they can quote unquote go crazy. And maybe it's just temporary, but maybe it's worse depending on what other factors are at play. So in yogic traditions that work with this concept of Kundalini, there are practices and protocols and systems that are designed to support those who are going through this kind of awakening. Well, I think we can use that as a kind of analogy to anomalous studies, because as you go down the rabbit hole of anomalous studies, you can have a similar sensation of new information and energy coursing through you at this rapid pace that is literally changing you completely because it's opening up new neural pathways. It's causing you to completely create a new worldview. And this can be extremely destabilizing, not to mention, as you begin to study these things, the lore goes really, really deep. So there are some really weird stories out there that are kind of disturbing and can create a lot of fear. The other thing is, a lot of us who are drawn to this topic already have some kind of trauma or anomalous trauma. Let's be honest, most people who are here on Earth have experienced trauma, whether it was in early childhood, middle school, adulthood, or beyond into your later years. We've all been through some stuff. You can't really escape it here on planet Earth. But there are those of us who have also been through what I call anomalous trauma, what others call anomalous trauma. And this is having either experiences in consciousness or unexplainable experiences that are scary. And so when you go back to start studying everything that's been written about this topic, it can re-trigger a lot of those fears and anxieties that are trapped in our bodies. So number one is working with the body. Our bodies are these incredible, miraculous instruments that our consciousness is existing through. And these bodies are a database of all that we've been through and all that we've ever perceived. Cellular memory is real. Every cell in our body holds the truth of what we've been through, what we've seen, what we've heard, and what we've felt. So as we learn about new things in the UFO realm, sometimes it can unlock a cellular memory that can cause a new wave of anxiety to course through the body. So what I like to do is I like to work in a kinetic or somatic kind of way. As I'm taking in new information, I am moving my body and I am processing things in a physical way. So I will often take breaks from reading or listening or watching to stretch, to drink water, to eat some protein, to wiggle, to jiggle, to massage my face, my jaw, my temples, my scalp. Sometimes I feel like this computer up here is starting to overheat, and I'll just take a break and really massage and relax the physical part of me that is potentially processing a lot of this new information. I love this method. It helps me so, so much. The other thing I like to do is some very simple and straightforward affirmations. So the one that I'm going to share today is just, I am safe and I stay safe. Now, of course, there's no guarantee of safety in the world. Anything could happen at any given moment. But how many nights have you laid awake feeling anxious and uncertain? And how many nights passed where nothing really happened? Probably most of them. And yes, I know some of us have had traumatic experiences at night. I'm one of those people. But most of the time, probably 90% or more, I've been okay. So I use this affirmation, I am safe and I stay safe, to just put on repeat when I'm falling asleep if I feel a little bit stirred up. And what this does is it tells my body to just chill. And this is very important because in order to continue learning and processing new information, we have to be in an open and receptive state. So you can create whatever affirmation you want. There's tons of research to show that these things really do work. It's all about creating new neural pathways, and affirmations are basically like recoding our own systems. It's a really great tool. I've been using them for years and they never fail. The other thing is just having a sense of humor and having fun. And one of the ways that I like to process what I'm learning is through art, because we're working with both hemispheres of the brain, and sometimes we need to switch gears and unplug from the analytical mind and move into a more subconscious creative space in order to see what information needs to kind of flow through us and back to us. Art is a great tool for this. So is singing and music and dancing. And I do all of these things on a regular basis. It's part of my soul practice. It's part of my witchy magic. It's just part of what I do to feel good in life. But it's also a really great tool for processing all of the things that I like to learn about. This little guy, his name is Earl. This is just a little creation that I made one day. He's silly, he's cute, he's sweet. It kind of takes away some of the intensity that we can experience when we're thinking about things like the gray aliens, which can appear to be very terrifying, you know? I do a lot of painting, I do a lot of sculpting, and I allow myself to kind of go back and forth between the really serious and the really silly parts of this realm, because there is a lot of goofy stuff out there when it comes to aliens, and sometimes you gotta dip into that just as a palate cleanse. This is actually, it jumped off the shelf, but this is a really cool book that a friend gave me, a graphic designer friend, and this just has some really cool like artwork and lettering typeface from different ufology stuff throughout the years. And you know, things like this are just really fun, and they kind of keep it light, you know? You got to go back and forth, because if you go too deep into the dark stories, and you never take a breath of fresh air, it can be very destabilizing. So, on this channel, I have curated the episodes to take you on a journey. If you're new to the topic, go back to episode 1 and work your way through if you have the time. If you don't have the time, you can always go to my recap episodes. I have podcast and playlists that go in chronological order, but this whole channel has been designed to take you on this journey. And I hate to say it, but there's no shortcut to really learning about anomalous phenomena. There's a lot of rewiring that has to happen because of the systems that have suppressed this knowledge for so long. There's a lot of cognitive dissonance, and a lot of people are very quick to write these things off as completely whack. But there's truth in this history. And on this channel, I have taken the information and laid it out in just a very plain and simple way so that you can go through and absorb slowly at your own pace without the flashing lights and scary music, without trying to be super sensational. You know, I'm not trying to pick the most exciting topics just to get clicks or views. I'm doing this all for the research and for the cause. You know, I really want to share what I've learned in a way that is accessible and meaningful and will really sink in. So that's what I'm attempting to do here. I'm really, really grateful, like I said before, for all of your participation and feedback, and just for being here with me, because this is one of my favorite things to learn about. But like I said, balance is key, and I do all kinds of other things with my life. I have a full career as a creative director. I'm an artist. I have tons of social connections, friendships, and family connections. I have a pet who helps to keep me grounded and sane. I spend lots of time alone because I'm also an introvert, and I need so many hours of quiet alone time where I can just be weird when nobody's watching. I like to learn new things that have nothing to do with this. I like to read all kinds of books, not just these kinds of books. And that kind of well-rounded spread of interests is what allows me to stay engaged with this in a way that doesn't overwhelm me. So I hope that gives you something to work with. And like I said, leave a comment if you have a tip of your own. I hope you have a great day, and thanks for checking out Shock's Talks. I'll see you next time.